The next step in the snowboard building process is to make the base template. To compensate for the steel edges, I'm going to decrease the width and length by 2 millimeters all the way around. This slightly smaller shape will be my P-TEX template shape. Now I'm going to print this out as I have with the other templates that I've printed out earlier from Boardcrafter Design. I select 1:1 scale and then leave what I want printed checked and uncheck everything I don't want printed. So in this case I'm just going to leave the plan and the inserts to make my P-TEX base template. Now that I've selected what I want, I'll go to File and go to Printer Setup to make sure the proper printer is selected, and I'll change this to my Epson, which is my roll-fed printer, but you can use a regular printer if that's all you have. I'll select the appropriate paper size and I'll hit OK, and then I'll go to File again and Print, and that will print my template. Now it's time to turn my printout into a routable template. I do this the same way I do the mold rib templates, and that's by printing out of Boardcrafter Design the shape I want and then using a spray adhesive to stick it to MDF fiberboard. In this case I selected the plan as the printout. You don't want to print out the core for your base template because your base needs to be wider than your core so your core can nestle inside of it. After sticking my printout to the MDF fiberboard, I trim off the ends with a circular saw, and then I'll go at the template with the jigsaw very carefully. Because I want to try and get the template right on my first try, I'm going to use a French curve to draw the trajectory I'll use with the jigsaw, and hopefully won't need to make another template, but that's always a lofty goal. Again, I'm using a new blade, and I'm being very careful to cut just outside of the line and consistently in the same area all the way around. And again, my goal is to get it just perfect. Next, I draw a center line down the middle of my template based off of the location of my insert. So I'm going to find the point between the insert holes, and I'm going to use that to draw a line right down the center of my board. I'll use this line as an axis to see if my board is symmetrical, and if it's not, then that means one or both of the sides of my template are inaccurate. In this case, I have definitely one inaccurate side, and upon closer inspection, the side closest to me is the good side, so I'm going to mark this side on this template, and it looks like I didn't get it perfect this time, so I'm going to make another template based on the good side of the previous template that I'd made. Now I'm going to take an MDF plank and draw a line down the center of it, and I'm going to use this to align the template I made earlier so that I can copy the good side on both sides of the center line, and I'll have a symmetrical snowboard shape that I can use as my template for my base material. I clamp the template in place because I don't want it to scoot around as I trace the outline of the good side of my original template. I'm intentionally using a nice thick Sharpie here because I'm going to draw a fat line along the good side of my template, and I'm going to draw this line on both sides of the axis I just drew on the plank. And then I'm going to take my jigsaw and I'm going to rough cut quickly, but not too quickly because I don't want to cut into the template shape with my jigsaw. But I'm really going to do my cleanup work with the trim router and the good side of the original template. So for the cutting I need to do on this plank, it doesn't really need to be too accurate, just as long as it's close enough. The jigsaw cutting this time around is going to go a lot quicker than the first time because I know I have a template that I can use my trim router against to clean it up. So here's my rough cut template. As you can see, it's not pretty, but you'll notice that I'm consistently outside of the Sharpie line that I had originally drawn. If I cut into that Sharpie line, I would have ruined the base template. So now it's time to take this rough template and the original template I tried to get perfectly, and then I will use the good side of the original template, and I'll basically copy that on each side of this new template using the trim router. For this, I'm going to use the straight cut bit, but this time I'm using one with the bearing on the top, and I don't want to be routing blinds. I want to be able to see the template that I'm leaning against, so that's why I've chosen to go with this router bit in my trim router for the job of cleaning up the template that I'll be using. So just like with the mold ribs, I'm going along this, and I will do the same for the opposite side as well, but I will use the same side of the original template, the good side. That way I have a perfectly symmetrical shape when I clean this up. So now I've copied the good side on both sides of this template, and I'm ready to use it as the template for my base material, and it's perfectly symmetrical.